we have in the studio Brandon Patty. Now, you guys have heard me call him Patriot.
Yes.
I've been calling Brandon Patty the Patriot. Now, you've been coming on air with me for about 11 years, 10 years, right?
10 years, 2015.
2015. So, and you would fill in for Mike when Mike was gone. You would be our conservative on the uncommon side. So
crazy.
I mean, it's great to be back in studio with you, because it's been a while since you and I have been in studio, and you've got all these grown up jobs now. So you are our clerk,
Sir.
and if you would explain to the people out there exactly what the job is of the clerk of the courts.
Sure. So Clerk of Court, Comptroller, we're one of the 5 constitutional officers in St. Johns County and in counties across the state of Florida. We primarily provide support to the courts, support to the county through the Comptroller, minutes and records, Inspector General functions, internal audit functions, and then we're also the official recorder for the county. So anytime that you get marriage, deeds, documents like that get recorded with our office as well.
And you handle passports.
And passports too. We're a passports acceptance facility certified by the Department of State.
All right. And now, so other people know your backstory. I call you the Patriot because of your military background. You went in the military very young. You were a 6th-string quarterback. I believe.
You're supposed to remember that. Just third, technically.
Third.
Second, really, but yeah, third. I'll take third.
Okay.
We won state championship. I mean, the guy played at Florida. What do you want me to do?
You won a state championship. You were a backup of some no-name guy.
Such an aggressive fact to remember.
I felt like I was back in high school for a second.
I got bullied again.
Knock the books out of your hand.
Well, I mean, tell him who. The reason you weren't the starter.
Well, I didn't really have talent.
The skill level was a factor. But I mean, the guy in front of you was a pretty impressive football player.
Yeah, I played at Florida. Gavin Dickey ended up playing behind Chris, who came in and really beat him out. He started playing more baseball and he ended up playing in the minors. Now he's a scout for the Astros. Chris, he was before Tebow.
Warfel?
After him, so like early 2000s. So he came in as a freshman, first game of the season, threw a 60-yard touchdown pass. I realized at that point that I would not be starting anytime soon. And I was a pretty decent option quarterback, but throwing was not my forte, and we threw a lot, so that didn't work out well for me. But had a good time running all the way through to state champs back in 2099.
Yeah.
State champs without the hits. We like that.
Yeah, got through okay.
No CTE.
I was the old victory quarterback. When I was in the game, they were pretty confident. Not 100%, but pretty confident we were going to win.
The clipboard guy. I know the plays.
Yeah, but it was a good experience. And then from there, I joined the military mid-20s and came in through what's called direct commission program. So it's where you come in as an officer in different communities for the Navy. So came in as an intel officer and have been in since. I come up on 20 years in 2008. So coming up quick. So I got to make a decision. And after the deployment last year, they can't touch me for 3 years, relatively speaking. So at that point, I'll be coming right back and have to make a decision if I want to stay in or not.
Right on.
So, and you have a new promotion coming up in June. Okay, I see. I announced it, so it's okay for you to do it.
It sounded like I was talking about it, Troy. But you asked,
so it makes it okay.
That makes it
That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
That makes it okay.
I'm giving you clearance for this one, where you don't have to brag. You don't have to brag on yourself. I'm asking you to brag on yourself, which is different.
Yeah,
I just start bragging.
Well, so I got picked up for the next rank. It was my second look, so it wasn't my first look getting picked up. So that was a couple years ago. I got passed over, which was a good moment of clarity. I'm like, hey, what do I need to do record wise? My performance was there, but I just didn't have all the boxes checked, and so that came through and ended up getting selected. And so was notified last June on my way out the door. And then the way the Navy rolls out their promotions is the more highly qualified selected go earlier in the fiscal year. So I'm like June. So I'm like kind of like a C student, C minus.
You're still the backup quarterback.
Still the backup quarterback, right? Like,
we like that.
I didn't get the star by my name, so I'm not getting that type of attention. But yes, I put on June 1st, and then we'll see. I never expected to stay in this long. It was just an opportunity to serve, and but I do enjoy it. I enjoy being in the military. I enjoy the mission. I enjoy focusing on getting our sailors what they need to be trained for the next fight, and it's important. So I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Yeah. So you're commander.
Yes. So I'll be a Navy commander.
So you're Navy commander as your lieutenant commander right now, but in like 5 days, you're a commander.
Yeah. There's this change that happens. I become a lot more
taller,
better looking, much more sure of what I'm saying, more direct, not as nice. Yeah. I'm just kidding. But it's interesting how that happens. But a lot of it, it's kind of how we run the office too. We promote based on performance, not potential. And so you have to have the track record of performance, of performing as the next rank, and they see that in your record. It's crazy how it works, but they're very good about this most times. And they promote based on that. So because I've been checking the boxes, so to speak, but because I've been performing and serving, they decided to throw me another bone.
What's the rank of? I mean, commander seems very high. I mean, there's a football team named after you.
Yeah, they're actually pretty decent. Yeah,
and they're pretty good. What's the rank above a commander?
So that's captain. So that's a full bird. Colonel is the Army equivalent.
Okay.
And then from there you get to the flag ranks. So admiral for us, general from there. So I think I'm pretty good here. I don't have any intention of continuing on to try to go for 06, but I never really meant to go for 05. It was just serving. Opportunities came
Patriot. Up. So,
you can't let that go, Troy. You can't retire from that.
You can't just stop being the Patriot.
Retire from that.
So. It's kind of like the Marines. Once you are the Patriot, you always are the Patriot.
I appreciate that. I don't salute cars, but yes, I don't. I'm just kidding for all the Marines that are out there. And you do salute cars.
I think
all the crayons are put away. Okay.
I think I have a ring coming in on tonight's show talking about Vietnam. So,
well, they are the men's department of the Navy. They are the men's department.
They appreciate the ride you guys give them.
They do not appreciate being called a Navy boy, though. I learned that the hard way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would avoid that one.
So, but you're now our clerk. Now you were deployed when you had the last campaign.
Yes.
Yeah. Was that a good thing?
How much to unpack there, Troy?
I'm sure it had to be nerve-wracking, but not having to campaign.
So ironically, it's the first time I've ever been on the ballot.
Yeah.
First time I ever, because
you're appointed.
And then my first term unopposed, and then this one drew opposition. And I love campaigns. I love telling the story. I love being out there talking with voters and getting into, not getting to the fights, probably not the most appropriate way of saying it, but getting into the conversation. Okay. And so I wasn't able to do so. That was frustrating. That was another moment of, God helping me grow. And then but it ultimately, it worked out for us. It was also the wife really got involved. And so she did a lot of campaigning, going to events and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's really a performance review. Every 4 years you go up, and you get voted on by your bosses, the voters here, to decide if they want to continue, if you decide to run again. I thought we had a good run. We had some hiccups here and there, of course, as any office is modernizing and growing. But at the end of the day, our focus remains serving our residents and our stakeholders. And we're passionate about that. We take care of our people. We fight hard for them. And we want to provide the very best service to y'all. And so I think that bore out in the results, and look forward to growing on it this term.
What's one of the challenges of the clerk's office? Now, you do the audits also, and there's a lot of things. There's Gadsby laws and some things that come into play. And just a brief, what a Gadsby law is where money can only be spent from certain, let's call them buckets or categories for certain items, like what they were collected for. That's what they need to be spent for. What's some of the challenges of doing those audits for the county, which is, it's almost a $1 billion budget.
Yeah.
So what is some of the challenges with doing those audits?
So a big part for us is coordinating with the external auditor. So our external auditor, they're going to each of the constitutionals, they're working through the county books and helping prepare everything. A big part of that, frankly speaking, is ensuring that we're staying on time and on track, and that we're addressing any findings or concerns that come in. And I'll tell you, it's such a good checks and balance, because by having these externals that came in, and they came in there's an audit selection committee that met, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and selected our auditor. And they go through and they just look at and they have their criteria of what is material and immaterial, and help make sure that the public trust is maintained, that the dollars are being spent the way that they're supposed to be spent. If there's any concerns that they come across, they bring them to everyone's attention. The county and constitutionals were all very proactive in responding if there's something that maybe another auditor didn't consider material and then they consider material. So immaterial means that it's a finding, but it's not that important. It's like if you're balancing your checkbook, let's say, and you're a nickel off. Yeah, you want to find that nickel, but it's a nickel. Mm-hmm. But you still want to find the nickels. For some auditors, a nickel is a big deal. Other auditors in $1 billion budget are like, might want to be aware of this, but we're not going to write you up on it.
So it continues to be a nickel. It's a problem.
Yeah. And so for our office, we have 3 different levels of standards. We have our office standards, audit standards, and taxpayer standards. And really, taxpayer standards are the highest standards. And that is, look at your job, look at your role, look at your function through the eyes of a taxpayer versus as an eyes of an employee. Mm-hmm. And because then you get to what's called office standards, which you can always detect them. It's whenever you ask someone why they're doing what they're doing and they say, well, that's the way we've always done it. It's an office standard.
Great answer.
Right? And then audit standards is what I was saying there. Are we working to make sure the auditor doesn't find anything, or our supervisor doesn't find anything, or are we for a taxpayer? And as a taxpayer, I want A to Z, alpha to omega. I want to make sure that we're covering down, we're being as efficient as possible, that we're accomplishing our mission every day. And so we rise to that occasion. That is our standard that we have in the office. And that said, we're office about 127. It's important for us to be proactive in responding to any issues that come up or if anything that happens, and to be also transparent and collaborative, talking with the public and talking with y'all and stakeholders about what happened, if something's happened, and what we're doing about it, make sure it never happens again.
All right. Brandon, now you're on the hot spot.
Oh, man.
Let's go.
I know you're just so stressed about
Spill the tea, sir.
Actually, we talked a little bit about it last week on last week's show. Now you hired former Senator, State Senator Travis Hudson. Explain how that came to be. I mean, and I said on the show, I think with his connections, it completely makes sense with me. But explain how that came to be and what your thought process was hiring him as a consultant, I'm assuming.
He'll be a W-2, but he's in an advisory role.
Okay.
So it came back to when I came in office in 2019, became very clear and apparent that the state funding for the court system and for the clerk's offices is broken. And effectively, the long story short, here in St. Johns County, we're one of the least funded clerk's offices in the state. So that was by case and it's by population because we've had so much growth. And I can go into about how this ended up happening, but the reality is it needs to get fixed. Yeah. And so clerks statewide through our association have worked to try to increase our funding. But candidly, we've been taking bites of the apple versus coming up with a strategic plan in order to be able to fix it once and for all. And ultimately, the issue is is that we are running a 2025 organization with 2008 prices.
Oh, wow.
Everything all court functions back, and generally speaking, but all court functions back in 2008 are the same prices they are now, but labor costs has skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. And so we're getting to a place where we're not able to retain our talent. We're not able to pay them what we need to in order to keep them there, because the more they're with the office, the better they are, the more efficient they are, the better they serve y'all, and the better they serve our stakeholders. And so that need has been present for years, and have known Travis for a long time, as you, Troy. And over the last couple of months, he mentioned a desire to kind of get back into public service. He missed being part of the greater good, so to speak, and solving problems. And, I know there's a lot of crosstalk online and all the rest of that, but his track record's pretty unmatched as a senator and as a state rep of taking care of the environment and bringing money back to St. Johns County, and fighting for clerks. Quite honestly, he was our chief sponsor, our main sponsor, back in 2003, that brought about $40 million of additional funding to clerk's offices statewide. That made a dent, but it didn't take care of everything that we needed. So he has a track record of success in St. Johns County. He's got a track record of success fighting for clerks. Says he wanted to get back into the game, public service wise. I was like, all right, let's have that conversation. Let's see what it looks like. And I'll tell you, the response has been, broadly speaking, very positive, especially with clerks, and especially with those stakeholders in Tallahassee who recognize the expertise, the I don't want to say wisdom, I think that's probably a little much, but like the expertise, the experience, the skill set that he brings to the table to help us with this fight, because they want it solved too.
He can navigate something that's not easy to navigate. No. And I don't think people understand in Tallahassee, it's being able to know who's on which committee and the ability to get to them,
how it works,
the availability of getting to them. And, to me, it completely made sense. And like you said, I had the benefit of knowing both you guys for a long time. So I have trusted both of you for a long time. So it was easy for me to defend that position. But with Travis, he doesn't have to. People, he's serving the people. He doesn't really have to. He has other options.
Yeah.
And the fact that he came and worked for you, I don't see it. There's not a huge benefit on his side unless he's just helping the people, in my opinion.
I agree, and I respectfully submit it. I also would say, like, he doesn't need a position to be he's the only state senator that serves St. and he's one of the longest serving, most elections, all the rest of that stuff, and he has a track record of success. And so, yeah, when a former senator or former representative, and I get to that place sometimes in these conversations, I'm like, just take the name out of it. Let's just talk about the credentials and the experience and the skill set. And then you tell me. And so you take the name out and you say you have a former state senator who has been instrumental in St. Johns County government politics for the last decade available, and even whether he's in office or not, you're going to take that call. And he's still extremely well connected in Tallahassee. They still talk to him to get his perspective because he's seen it all. I mean, they would give him the toughest bills to run, like significant, complex legislation that would change the trajectory of different industries, and whether it was on the gaming side or, heck, even with our Clerk's bill. And so I think that when especially those in Tallahassee, and for us, when we realized, and when I learned that he was available, I was like, all right, let's see if we can figure this out, because it can be a game changer for us here in St. John's, and it's also a signal to Tallahassee how serious we are about fixing this issue.
Well, I find it very significant because him, Paul Renner, and Stevenson all went out at the same time.
Yes,
our House representatives in Tallahassee, they all were in senior positions, and they went out at the same time, and they got us. The last 2 years they were there, they crushed it. So Sam Kim and Senator Leak, they got some work to meet that bar. I'm sure they appreciate also having him help in that process too, still being involved in it to get.
They still talk to him,
get them in the right room to do what the first crew was able to do. And
it is slightly counterintuitive when you think about it, to a certain extent too, that you need having someone there that can help fight for you in Tallahassee to get, generally speaking, like what's rightfully yours, I guess, but that's not probably the proper way of saying it. But in other words, having someone that can go to Tallahassee, because we all pay those taxes that go to Tallahassee, right? And making sure we get our fair share. And the reality is that in Tallahassee, we're not the largest county. We know that. Miami-Dade, South Florida is. They get a lot of the attention. They are the center of gravity in many cases. So having someone that is definitely experienced in navigating appropriations and policy for us, and then also just as an advisor to helping us be able to bring back more to our residents here so we can get our fair share. It's the old pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I just want to be a pig. Yeah. I want to make sure that I have the resources we need to run an effective office to take care of our people who will take care of you. That's the ball game.
Yeah. All right. So you were heavily involved in the Republican Party prior to going in the clerk's office, and you your relationship with DeSantis as a military person and a Republican who was on the rise at the same time, on that same trajectory, I think is what the word. How does that relationship help you do your job and where you're sitting right now?
It helps from a perspective of understanding just the political landscape, and then those that are involved in Tallahassee. Much of what we do and what we're going to do, especially, is telling our story. If it's one of those where, let's say here in St. Johns County, if we have let's say a vacancy on the county commission, and we're waiting to see who's going to get appointed. For us, that is the decision we're waiting on. For the governor, that might be 1 out of 100 that he's making that day. And similarly for us here, it's one where, how do we ensure that we're getting the facts out there, that we're able to help articulate, and ensure that we're able to really make sure our message lands? Because ultimately that's what a lot of it comes back to, is we're hired to do a specific function and role for you. And I want to be able to have your confidence and trust that when we're arguing, articulating, advocating for your interests and your needs, that that we're going to maintain that public trust. And that's part of the reason why, even with this hiring, that we made the announcement, that we wanted to bring it forward when we did, is because we want to have that conversation, because it's one where we're very transparent in our office. We talk about the good, we talk about the bad, and we want to make sure that we're able to help tell our story. And for me, that announcement kicked off this campaign. It kicked off the campaign of saying, hey, here's who we're bringing in. Here's what we're going to accomplish. Let's get to work. And the great thing about it is, even over the last week or two, we've made considerable progress, helping set the foundation for us to be able to get the resources we need so we can take care of our mission and take care of y'all.
All right. You said you have 127.
127 today.
127. Now being a boss isn't easy. I mean, when you, it's fairly easy to sit in that 2 and 3 seat and go, oh, yeah, my boss really screwed up. But
yes.
but being a boss is not always easy. And you know, that 127 is a significant number of people that you have over your last, I guess, 8 years now. So
five, 6 years, sir.
5 years. What's been the biggest challenge of being the guy that, okay, this is who it lands on?
Great question. I think the biggest challenge I've had, and I think that it's one where we work on it all the time. There's this thing called the say-do gap. And I will be very clear and articulate. So I think, and many times I'm not, but I think of saying, this is how I want to move forward. And this is how we're going to take care of our people. This is how the policies are going to impact. This is how we're going to build out X, Y, and Z program, whatnot. And then it's the do side of it, where it's like, how is it actually implemented in the office? Because when it's very close and there is no separation between the say-do, it builds trust, it increases morale. When there's a separation there, it erodes trust and it erodes morale, because it makes it look like you're saying one thing and the office is doing something different. So really trying to root that side of it out. A lot of the battles we fought, if you will, a lot of the growth is probably the more appropriate way of saying it over the last 5 years. I think we've done a good job of instilling a culture of high standards, instilling a culture of transparency, instilling a culture of potential. We implemented the first clerk's career system in our office that actually provide opportunities for growth, leadership, and non-leadership. Before that, when I came in, there were deputy clerks and supervisors. We've added senior clerks. We've added different positions. We've really built out the office, and through that, it allows us to fight for our budget that much more. And so we live by a lot of that. We also really built in the taxpayer standards. We've built in that we say no one's bigger than the office. We work within the office. We each have a role to play, including myself. If I fail, the office fails. If the office fails, I fail. And my job primarily is to ensure that the public's confidence is in our office, that we're instilling the public's perspective, trust, values in the office. And similarly, it's also to be communicating outwardly what our office is doing and how we're serving our residents and what we need in order to be able to do so. And that's why this hire is so important, is because it's signaling clearly, hey, we need more funding in order to be able to take care of our folks. And thank goodness the Board of County Commissioners here in St. John's has been just a great supporter, recognizing our mission, recognizing our need, and providing what we need in order to be successful, with the understanding that in the future, more resources should be and will be on the way.
All right, I only have one.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, it was great though. You nailed it. This one's way easier.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
Yes. Okay.
Can't wait to hear the Marines answer on that one.
It's fuchsia. All right. Brandon Petty as the clerk. Brandon Petty as commander. All right. Tell me the differences between those and the similarities between those, because it's two very different jobs.
It is.
So if you can tell me the major differences and the most commonality of those two jobs.
Yeah. So for the commonalities between them, it's being in leadership, it's making decisions. But generally, like on the Navy side, your rank and then you have your position. So my position right now on the reserve side is the regional training officer for our Navy Intel Region Southeast, which is out of Jacksonville. So I focus primarily on training. I don't have to worry about HR. I don't have to worry about pay. I don't have to worry about budgets. I don't have to worry about really personnel conflicts.
Yeah.
I just get the sailors to the training, help work out any issues they have, help them build out their training plans, and do the thing. It's fantastic. It's like when I was deployed, I was an intelligence planner. I did plans. I didn't have to worry about personnel. I didn't have to worry about salary. I didn't have to worry about budget. It was great. That said, it's also great working on the clerk side, which is you've got your hand on the steering wheel. I mean, you are charged with all of those responsibilities, and the public expects a lot out of you for it. And it's something that I take very seriously every day. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and recognize really what a blessing it is and a gift, and it's something I hope to be able to give back to the county by having a world-class office. But that's primarily the difference, is that on the clerk side, it's comprehensive. Thankfully, we've got a fantastic team. From our day one clerks, those that are in onboarding, all the way up to our senior staff. Our senior staff are committed to the mission. They're committed to the office. They're committed to taking care of each other, and they're committed to ensuring that we're making the right decision and the best decision for the office and for our people too. And so we talk often that when we bring somebody in, we invest a lot in them. We invest a lot in them, training wise, culture wise, because we want them there for 20, 30 years. And so once they're in, if things get a little sideways, they get a little off standards, we work with them to get back to it. But it also means that if we get to a position where it's best for us to part ways, we'll do so, and we'll do so when it's appropriate. So there's a lot of that side of it on the clerk side. And then back on the Navy side, it's not just helping the training side. It's you're completing the national mission and helping keep us safe, right? Being part of that solution. And as someone who loves serving the greater good and being part of something bigger than themselves, it's nice to have kind of both this. But if you had to ask me, what was my number one job? I mean, it's being a husband, it's being a father, it's helping ensure that that our family is moving forward. And so it's one where I don't take any of those lightly, and it's one I'm just said honored, humbled to be able to be a part of. Sorry, they got a little hallmark on y'all.
Yeah, no. That's exactly where your head should be.
Yeah, exactly.
With family first. I think all of us would agree with that. Anything any message you want to get out that we haven't covered? I feel like I beat you up a little bit.
No, I love it, Troy. And I appreciate y'all. And Blake, y'all are doing such a great service to the community by leaning forward. By the Speedway up on 210 was at 277 this morning.
Nice.
So I caught my eye on the way in. And then number two, I say, hey, we just released a new program in the office called Salute to Service. So we'll talk to y'all about that a little bit more. We want to help get the word out. So if you're a veteran and you have a DD 214, so your discharge papers, we welcome you to record it with our office. And it'll go into the official records of the county, so it becomes a part of the county's history, which is cool.
Please do that, because I can tell you at Veterans Village, we go to those documents because of the new bill, the Stilling Valor bill. I mean, we have people that are coming in, so please record those. It's free. You can get a copy whenever you need to, free. It's protected from public disclosure for 62 years after your date of discharge, so it's fine print, according to the National Archives. And we give you a card that arrives in the mail that you can take to local area businesses and receive discounts and just a little bit acts of gratitude from them. We're appreciative to our partners in the program, so we want to help spread the word. But it's a cool program. There's no honor amongst clerks, so we stole the idea from a clerk's office in North Carolina, and our comms team, our public affairs team, has done a remarkable job of putting it together and executing. So very grateful for them, and just want to help get the word out on the program.
That's an awesome program. Thank you.
That's great.
And as a mom who has gotten passports for children before, you run the office very well. Even though you do have budgetary constraints, they were amazing with my children. Even when my kids came in with like wild hair and needed pictures, they were all very sweet with the kids, and they were very informative. So I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.